Let me guess, you're the owner of a small business, you've got loads of cool ideas, but no money to actually execute them, and you're wondering how you even begin to start to market your business in 2021. Don't worry, I've been there. I've tried a hell of a lot of different strategies and tactics, and I'm going to spend this video telling you which ones worked, which will hopefully give you some really great ideas for how you can market your business in 2021. So let's get to it. Hi, I'm Jade. For those of you who don't know me, I own two brands. One's called Raya London, one's called Lilo London. I also have an influencing account, and I have this lovely channel, We Side Hustle, which is all based on helping you level up your hustle. So today's video is specifically about marketing tactics for small businesses in 2021. I've been looking forward to doing this video for a while because marketing's like my thing. It's my baby. It's what I work in full time. It's what I studied. It is my thing. And there's actually quite a few cool new tactics which I think people could really start to look at in the year 2021, which are fairly low cost and which are perfect for small businesses and which have really helped me with my businesses in recent months. So I'm really excited to share them with you. But before we get started, please can you like and subscribe to my channel? It will help me out loads. I release content in relation to helping you level up your hustle every single week. So before we get started with these tips, there's a few things which I need you to at least think about. I'm hoping you've already done these different things because they're really essential to you kind of running your business. But I want to make sure that I've said them before we talk about these specific strategies, just so that I've covered all bases, right? So the first thing is that you need to know who your audience is. And in order to do that, what you want to do is build a really granular, in-depth audience profile. What your audience profile is basically who your standard or ideal customer is, where they work, how much money they earn, what they like to do in their spare time, what are their interests, their hobbies, how many mates do they have kids, how much money do they earn per year, all of that kind of stuff. You want to get into real detail as to who your customer is, because realistically you will not be able to have an effective marketing strategy in 2021 if you don't know who your customers are. Because if you don't know who they are, you don't know how you're supposed to get their attention, you don't know where you can get their attention. It becomes very messy. So make sure you've thought about that. The second thing I would have needed you to have done is a bit of, I was about to use a real marketing term then. I was going to say macro and micro environmental analysis. My God, buzzword. So much marketing jargon. Honestly, you know what? Every time I say something what sounds like marketing jargon, just have a shot on me. It could be a new drinking game. What it basically means is looking at your broader environment surrounding your business, your brand, your products, your audience, right? So a good example of this is, at the minute, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. I know we're a year on, but we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And what that means is that it has a huge impact on different buying habits amongst consumers. You know, if you are selling a product where it's kind of clothing based, are people buying as much clothing as they used to? If you're selling travel, if you're in the travel industry, people aren't traveling. So therefore, these are factors from the external environment which are impacting your business and which should therefore be considered before you kind of undertake any form of marketing activity. Okay, I'm glad I got that one out of the way because it was so boring, but it just had to be said. The third thing that I want you to think about, and the final thing what I'm going to flag, is your competitors and what they're doing. Whilst I'm never going to suggest that you go down the rabbit hole of comparing yourself to others, it's always important that you keep an eye on what your competitors are doing, how they're advertising, what strategies they're using. It could be that you want to gain some inspiration from them. It could be that, they're telling you what not to do. It's always just worth keeping an eye on what they're doing, because it just helps you be a lot more knowledgeable in that space before you embark on your own kind of marketing journey. What a lovely way to put it. So now that I've got that upfront boring stuff out the way, let's talk about some tactics. The first thing that I want to talk about, and it's probably the most powerful and in some ways the most obvious thing that you should be utilizing in 2021, is social media. So what I want to make clear here is that I'm not going to sit here and say you need to be on every single social media channel and you need to be active every single day. That's not what I'm about. I, however, do believe that you should be consistently reviewing your social media strategy and thinking about which channels you, as a brand or as a personal brand, as a service, should be present on. It's important not to just jump on the latest thing. So obviously TikTok is really big at the minute. Things like Clubhouse are kind of emerging and becoming a lot more popular. Just because TikTok is big doesn't mean that your brand should be on there. Always remember that. You've got to think about where your audience are, and this is why that audience profiling step that I spoke about before was so important. You know, TikTok might be huge, but your audience might be 35 to 50-year-old wine lovers. They're not on TikTok. A few of them might be, but most of them are not on TikTok. Therefore, you should not be on TikTok. So just always think about that before you just rush to jump on your new social media channel. The channels you're using should be really well aligned with your audience, where they are, and the type of content that they like to engage with. Another key marketing strategy or tactic which falls under the social media tip is to really define your value offering. That is something what I really want more brands to work on. I work with a few brands to kind of offer advice on their social media strategies, and this is one of the most obvious things that I feel like a lot of brands miss, and it's so important. So what I mean by your value offering is literally, what are you offering people who are coming onto your website? It's not enough for you to say people should just want to follow me because I have nice products. They should just want to follow me because, you know, I'm really knowledgeable in my field. You have to be offering them something. It's not good enough you having really nice products if you're not offering them some form of like aesthetic imagery or some form of entertainment. It's not good enough you being really knowledgeable in your field if you're not sharing that knowledge on your page. You have to make sure that there's a clear value offering that you are giving people. And the pages that I've run, the ones which have grown the quickest, have been the ones where they have a really clear value offering. For example, We Side Hustle is the page for this channel. I started this channel in November 2020. It's now, why does it take me so long to figure out what month it is? It's now February 2021. And I started the Instagram channel in November, right? So I've had that for what, like 3-4 months. That channel was on almost 2,500 followers. And don't get me wrong, I know that's a small channel, but that has grown a lot quicker than my other channels when they first started out. Often when you first start out, it's the hardest to grow. The reason why that channel has grown so much quicker is because my value that I'm offering people is so clear and so high value, right? I'm offering people tips and advice to help them make more money. Like, who does not want to make more money? That is such a clear reason to follow my page, which is why that's grown so quickly. So that's something to always bear in mind when you're looking at any of your different social media sites, not just Instagram. What value are you offering people, which is going to make people want to stay on your page and therefore purchase from you at some point? The next tip that I want to give you, and this works across social media, this works across any kind of marketing that you are doing, is to have a good mix of your messaging. And what I mean by that is there's a few different ways, there's a few different terms what people use, right? So some people say it's like hard sell versus soft sell messaging. Some people say, and this is what marketing people say, it's a balance between brand building and activation. I've just said so much bloody buzzwords, so I apologize. What those things basically mean is soft sell, or like your brand's kind of messaging, is not usually sales focused. So it's usually something where you're talking a bit more about your intangible parts of your brand. So you're talking about your brand personality. Like on my social media channels for my boutiques, like I have some posts which are soft sells because I'm talking about quotes which I like, which relate to the brand. So I'm not selling a product, but I'm kind of selling my vision and I'm selling my brand, and therefore it's a lot more of a soft sell message. And then your hard sell messages, or your kind of activation messages, those are specifically designed to encourage a sale. That's why they have been written. So those are the ones where you're saying shop now, or view the collection now, DM me for my price list. Those are, you've got clear call to actions where you're asking people to purchase or do something. So the trick here is to have a balance of the two. If you go too hard on the soft sell stuff, the chances are you're not actually telling people to purchase from you at any point, so they might not buy from you. If you go too hard on the hard sell stuff, people are going to get annoyed with you because you're constantly trying to shove your services or your products down their throat. So the importance is to get a really good balance, and the balance is really what's key. A general rule which the advertising industry follow is the 60-40 rule. So that is that 60% of your messaging should be kind of soft sell or about your brand, and 40% should be your hard sell or your activation where you're actually asking people to do something. Okay, So the next one, what I want to talk about, kind of goes hand in hand with social media, but this one's more about having your own customer base and kind of contacts and database that you possess, and that is your email database. This is so important. Out of all the things, out of Instagram, out of all the different social media channels, none of them actually give you complete ownership over the people that you're speaking to like email marketing does. When you build your email marketing list, that is exclusively a list of people who are interested in your services and products who you can speak to on a regular basis. And there's a few different things that you should think about doing as part of your email marketing strategy, which are going to really help you set yourselves apart from other people this year. The first of which is not to be, sorry, I'm just getting my notebook. The first of which is not to be shy in regards to how often you're talking to your email marketing database. You've got to think about some of these big brands who you're probably signed up to their mailing list, right? Do you ever think that Topshop sits there and thinks, oh, I'm not going to send them another email because I'm a bit worried that I'm spamming them? They don't think that. They don't think that at all. They will email you as much as they goddamn want to. So you need to do the same thing. The second thing that I recommend you do when it comes to your email marketing is get creative with your tagging, right? And this could really be a whole nother video, but really spend some time segmenting your email marketing audience list into different categories. So for example, you want to be making sure that all your active customers who are big fans of your products or services and who regularly open your emails and regularly purchase from you, that they are tagged and have their own separate group so that you can send specialist comms to them, right? Because they're your advocates, they're your fans. So you want to make sure that you're treating them as well as they deserve to be treated. And then you want to make sure that you've tagged your new customers, or you've tagged the people who are, not as active in your brand, who you think could be more active, or the people who used to be active and aren't active anymore. So you basically just want to make sure that you're grouping all your customers into relevant groups so that you can send them really tailored communications to them from here on. And that's going to massively improve your click-through rate. It's going to massively improve your conversion rate from your campaigns. And it's basically just going to massively improve your business. And that's why that is one of my top tactics for 2021. The last thing I want to talk about in regards to your email marketing is to really consider creating an email flow. I don't even know if that's the official word, but I know that's what MailChimp calls it. For full disclosure, I use a mixture of MailChimp and ConvertKit, and I'm actually thinking of moving completely over to ConvertKit because I think I prefer it. So I'm going to put a link to both in my description. So what I mean by email flow is basically email automations, right? What I've tested doing for one of my brands, Raya London, is create a sequence of automated emails which are triggered for anyone who is added to my email database for the first time. So if you imagine you're a customer and you sign up to Raya London's email marketing list, one email is immediately triggered. It's a welcome email. It tells you a bit about the brand and it gives you a discount code off of your first purchase. A second email is triggered a week later, which tells you a bit more about kind of my charity initiatives and that kind of stuff. And then a third email is triggered after that, which tells you a bit more about the brand and gives you some really great styling tips and lookbooks. The whole purpose of these automations is to help guide people through the process of getting familiar with your brand. And it's almost like an induction. Think of it as like an induction to your brand and what you stand for and who you are. And it basically just means that by the time someone's finished that automated flow, they're a lot more likely to want to purchase on your brand because they know your brand more and they're more familiar with your brand. So I really recommend checking out and experimenting with those different types of features, which are available on platforms like ConvertKit and MailChimp. The next strategy which I recommend you explore is influencer marketing, which I'm sure you're more than familiar with. I'm very familiar with influencer marketing. I actually have an influencer account, which I work with brand partners on, and I've worked with influencers across both of my brands, and I've hired influencers for huge international brands at my agency that I work at. So I have literally seen it from every single which way you can imagine, and I'm very familiar with the industry, right? A few tips that I want to give you in the realms of influencer marketing. Do not hedge your bets on these huge macro influencers, right? So macro influencers are influencers who have like hundreds of thousands plus followers. Whilst these influencers are great at meeting some marketing objectives, things like awareness, for example, or, for borrowing their credibility in the space, they're great for that. For smaller brands, they might not be right for you. What's becoming more and more apparent is that targeting nano, and those are influencers with less than 10,000 followers, or micro influencers, is an incredibly valuable strategy for brands. These influencers often have a smaller audience, but their audience are often a lot more engaged. Also, I tend to find that these influencers have almost better content. And that's because they're putting so much, like, not pressure, but it's so important for them to produce good content. They're basically trying a lot harder because they're desperately trying to build an audience in quite a saturated market. So they're trying a lot harder, which is great for you because it means their content's a lot better. And, you know, when it comes to working with them, they're probably going to be a bit easier to work with as well because they're so, you know, keen to please and build up their portfolio of brand partnerships. So definitely explore smaller influencers. I also recommend for some businesses to explore theme channels. It's not always about influencer marketing. This is especially useful for channels which have smaller budgets because theme pages don't charge a lot, nowhere near as much as influencer pages. For those of you who don't know what theme pages are, they're essentially pages which usually live on Instagram, which collate loads of different content from other creators under one theme and puts it under one roof. So if you're really into dogs, there'll be pages on Instagram whose whole purpose is centered on sharing content of dogs. It's not their content, whoever's running the page, it's other people's content. And that's kind of how theme pages work. So what theme pages do is give brands a really great opportunity to get in front of a lot of people who are interested in their products, because theme pages usually have a really specific niche. So I've tried this with things like my brands like Raya London. I've worked with theme pages which are centered on fashion. I've managed to get, you know, shout outs on these pages for as little as 10 to 12 pounds. And they'll have hundreds of thousands of followers. The reason why these shout outs are so much cheaper is because these theme page owners don't have to create any content. The brand gives them the content to post, which means that they're not really doing that much and therefore they can't justify charging hundreds of pounds like an influencer can. So it's a really good alternative to influencer marketing for people to try it out. It's very cost efficient and from my experience, it's very effective. Let's move on to my final bonus tip. And this one basically encompasses everything else that I've spoke about, right? A lot of you may have already heard this saying before, but basically there's been research which has proven that an average person needs to see your brand 7 times before they make a purchase, right? So some people might think, oh, that just means I need to shove an ad in front of their face 7 times and they'll buy from me. There's far more efficient ways to achieve this goal of 7 times, right? And one of the most effective ways you can do it is by capturing people's data and therefore, you know, bringing them into one of your other marketing channels. So let me bring this to life a bit more and explain it. So say you've got your website, right? You've probably seen this before, but a lot of people have pop-ups on their website. So if you go on the website, this thing will pop up and say, get 10% off your first order when you sign up to our database. What this basically does is allows you to collect data from people who have landed on your page. They may have found your Instagram page, they may have clicked the link in your bio, they've gone onto your website, and now they've given you your email. So now they may have only seen your brand once and then not purchased anything, but now you have their email address. So now you can send them emails, which is going to rank up the number of times they've seen your brand, and you're going to hit the number 7 in no time. So it's the same way that if you're on social media and you're, you know, on the explore page and getting all these new eyeballs on your content, are those people following you afterwards? Because essentially, once you get them as a follower, you now have all these opportunities to show them your brand on several more occasions and really get to that number 7 number a lot quicker. So it's all about trying your best to kind of capture people and bring them into your different marketing systems as soon as possible, whether that be your email marketing list, whether that be a follower on your social media account, whatever it may be. Try and retain them and keep them there, because this is going to make it so much easier for you to show them your brand 7 times, which is what's going to get you to that sale. So I hope that made sense, and I really hope these tips were useful. If you're interested in this type of content, I release videos every single week, so please subscribe to my channel. I will see you at the next one.